to going up, which means we are coming to you. Welcome to Wednesday, day after Cinco de Mayo, 6 de Mayo, as they would say. And we're coming to you live for Trusted Herd Live. This is episode number 25, and it's very well titled that because our guest today is the president of a company called ProMotion, Mr. Steve Randazzo. Steve, hello.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, welcome. This is where like all the applause signs are going off in my one-bedroom apartment, and people.
I can hear the applause. I can hear the applause in my ears right now.
It's deafening on this side, I have to tell you.
I appreciate
it. Of course. So, everybody, if you're new to Trusted Herd Live, there are 24 fantastic episodes before, but if you're a little unaware, there's a slight pause in the event industry happening right now. And we were like, what can we do to remind us all that we really enjoy events? And I was like, how about the people behind the companies that we apply to work for, but we don't necessarily know their story and how they got started and how they've gotten to where they're at today. So very, very excited to have Steve here because ProMotion is celebrating a pretty significant anniversary. Is that right, Steve?
It is. And that's why I thought it was perfect that on the 25th episode is our 25th year. So we've been around for a long time. We've been so fortunate, worked a lot of great brands, and had a lot of great people as our clients. And I've been fortunate to surround myself with some really awesome coworkers who I would not be here today after 25 years without, a whole team of people who have been through the ranks here at ProMotion and who are currently here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we're going to talk about that team in a little bit here. So for everyone who is joining, Steve actually has some pretty cool giveaways for anybody that's liking or hearting this. What's today? Wednesday. So we'll do it over the next 48 hours for anybody watching now, later tonight, or the next 48 hours. Hit that heart and like button and the share button. Steve, tell the audience what they can win.
Well, I thought it'd be really great. I for 10 years, I've said, I'm going to write a book. And I finally did, and it became a bestseller a couple months ago on Amazon. So the book is called Brand Experiences, Building Connections in a Digitally Cluttered World. I feel, I'm really proud that it became a bestseller. Got a lot of great reviews from a lot of, awesome B2B and B2C marketers that we've worked with, and some just have been friends. So I'll give away 2 of these books. And also, as maybe an added bonus, there may be people out there doing some career searching, or, I'm been doing this a long time. I've got a lot of experience. So I'll give away 2 30-minute sessions with me. We'll talk about whatever you want. If you want to talk about your career, you want to talk about your finances, you want to talk about, hey, I want to start a business someday. What's it like? I'll talk about anything you want. So 2 of my books and 2 of the 30-minute sessions with me, and we'll do it in a mutually agreed upon time. We can do a Zoom, or we can do a phone call, or if we're in the same city someday, we can do it face to face.
That is incredible. Congratulations on the book being the bestseller. Especially, it's very fun and exciting. And then look, guys, take advantage, hit that heart and like button, hit that share button to your favorite page or your own page, because the 2 people that win this opportunity with Steve to talk to him about anything you'd like, that's so amazing, the access. So again, thanks so much. That's great, Steve.
Hey, no worries. I'm happy to do it. I love giving back.
Yeah, super. All right, well, let's jump into the first question of Trusted Herd Live, which always has nothing to do with events. So if you are not doing anything ProMotion or event related, what can everybody find you doing? What are your hobbies? What do you like?
I'm one of those lucky guys who have pretty good balance in my life. I work really hard. I like playing hard. I'm a devoted family guy. I have a 22-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old son, and a wife of almost 30 years. So she was with me when we started this journey here with ProMotion. So I love doing stuff with the family. Right now it seems like we're spending a lot of time. I just got a text from my mom. We're spending a lot of time taking care of grandma and grandpas and making sure they've got enough food and things so they don't leave their homes. We actually grounded. We're fortunate. All 4 grandparents are still alive. They're all in their 80s. They're all in relatively good health.
Okay.
And we grounded them about 5 or 6 weeks ago. So we do weekly trips out to the grocery stores and take care of them. So family's really important. Being an Italian family, grew up, that was always important. So I love doing that. I also got a bunch of guys I've been running around with since I was 16. And when I say a bunch, there's about 30 of us.
Wow.
And I'm the youngest in that group, and the oldest is probably 10 or 15 years older than me.
Yeah.
We started out, we all worked at McDonald's together back in the day. One guy owns 5 or 6 McDonald's now. We've all gone to all the different places and do different things, but we all hang out. We used to play softball together. Now we all play golf together in the weekly league. We it's bizarre. Like I said, there's like 30 of us, and that's a lot of fun. So I like hanging out with those guys, and love playing golf, love getting outside. Just love hanging out and enjoy being away from this industry, because this industry is tough.
Yeah.
The industry's hard, and it can really grind on you. That's why I said I work really hard at that balance.
Yeah.
I moved us from our old location about it's probably been 12 years ago.
Okay.
Until I'm just 3 miles from my house. So it's easier for me to get home and hang out with the kids, hang out with the family, get my kids to sporting events, things like that when, they were younger.
Yeah.
The other thing I love doing is my son plays college baseball. So I love watching him play. That season got shortened this year, which is a shame, but we're playing a lot of catch. We're hitting ground balls, hitting in the cage. I mean, it's one of the benefits, I guess, of him being at home right now. And he's still working out, and I get to hang with him. So
yeah. What position does he play?
He plays third base.
Third base.
Yeah, and he's a sophomore in college, and they were like 20 games into the season. He was having a great season, and unfortunately, it all got taken away from him. But the NCAA did give him another year back, which is nice. So like everybody gets redshirted this year.
Yeah, that's excellent. I saw this amazing video towards the beginning of COVID-19 of this high school player, and it must have been somewhere in maybe Arizona or California, that was out in his driveway hitting the bat with the net. And then on day 3 or 4, a major league, I think he was somebody from the Pirates organization on the major league team, actually came across the street, and he's like, I've been watching you the last 3 days, because he's not in camp. He's at home at that point. And he goes, I'd like to help you on your hitting stuff. And it was just this, one of those sports stories that you love to hear.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. And, for everyone who is unfamiliar with promotion, and maybe, I'm looking at the pictures behind you. I see a baseball stadium, so that could be one of 30. But I also see an arch there, which I think there's only one of those in the U.S. Where are you at?
Just that one. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. I brought my Cardinal hat with me to work today. 11 championships here, and then also, who can't be more proud about the St. Louis Blues and their Stanley Cup championship? So, typical St. Louis. We're all huge into our sports.
Yeah.
So I'm in my office. This is our conference room, and we call it the St. Louis Conference Room, and we have pictures of our staff up on the walls, and also obviously icons from St. Louis.
Yeah, that's awesome. And St. Louis Blues, they were the defending Stanley Cup champion. They might have a long reign.
It's crazy. Will they put their names back on the Stanley Cup for 2020 if there's no more hockey? That's it's awful. It'd be great to see them getting back on the ice.
Yeah, very much so. All right, well, let's. I could talk sports with you. Probably we could do another episode and just talk sports. But let's get a little bit into the event industry. So, if we were to have just met today and I didn't know anything about you or promotion, how would you describe your business to me?
Well, we're a full-service experiential agency, and what we focus on is helping B2B and B2C brands grow. And we do that through quality conversations and quality engagements. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to drive is sales, because all marketing should be setting up sales. So that's what we do with each one of our programs, is see how we can sell more of our clients' products or services. That's
fantastic. It sounds like maybe you've said that elevator pitch before.
It's funny. We change it all the time. It's like, what if we change this word? And we change that word. At the end of the day, we're face to face. What we do is we we take our clients' products and services and we get them face to face with their customers. And
Yeah,
you know, someday we're going to be able to do that again.
Absolutely. I can tell you, I'm tired of being in the same place, and I want to be around other people. And I'm sure many people feel the same way.
For sure.
All right, so we got a little bit of a base of what promotion does. Now let's take you back and let's tell the promotion story. So before you even got into the events world, what were you doing?
You know, it's funny. I was in college. So I tell people all the time that all I've ever done my whole career since the first day out of college is events. So I don't know if it's the only thing I can do or the one thing that I really loved, but this is what I do. And, you know, I was really fortunate. My first job in Kansas City, I was working for the Kansas City Royals baseball team. So, you know, baseball's been in my life my whole life. And, you know, I said before, fortunately, still a big baseball fan. So I was working for the Royals as a marketing assistant, and my first event comes straight out of college is a first ball ceremony on the field at Royal Stadium.
What?
And you know, I'm like, well, how tough could that be? You know, I'm going to walk out there and these people are going to throw out a first pitch. And boy, the logistics, setting up that whole event, make sure you get the people, you get them down on the field, you make sure they understand what's going on. You've written this PA announcement, so the PA announcer, I mean, all this stuff is scripted, and it was a lot of logistics, but it taught me really quickly how, you know, timing is important and making sure you do things in order. Yeah. And not only that, but think about the emotional connection for that person throwing out that first pitch.
Unbelievable.
You know, to me, it was like I'm doing my job. You know, every game we had maybe 2 or 3 first ball ceremonies.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just like I'm doing my job, but to them, they've told, you know, grandma and grandpa and friends and relatives and people there with the cameras and the movie cameras and stuff. It was their big day, you know. So the emotional connection. So, you know, it was a big part for me to make their day special, make sure it wasn't stressful. So yeah, my first event was a first ball ceremony at Royal Stadium.
That is so cool. Very envious. There was actually somebody I went to high school with, my grade, who he went on and he actually worked for the Kansas City Royals and got a ring when they won the World Series, which was really cool.
The last one in 2000 and what was it?
A couple years ago.
Yeah, 2008 or 10 or I don't know.
Yeah.
I was there in 1985. We also won the World Series that year.
Did you get a ring?
No rings.
No rings. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, there were 4 of us who didn't get a ring based on technicality of when we started with the organization, and we weren't considered full-time at the beginning of the calendar year. So 4 of us didn't get a ring.
Well, you earned that ring. So all right. Good. So we're doing the Royal stuff, and how about in terms of, do you remember your first experience, I guess, in more of like a traditional event marketing environment?
You mean like specifically like what we do?
Yeah. Non like Royals related or anything like that.
Okay. You know, I think I was always attracted to the human-to-human engagement, you know, that we talk so much about today. I remember being in college and being in an advertising class and say, you know, this really doesn't relate to me. You know, just don't see the value of it as much. So, you know, I think that's why I was really attracted to the industry is through that human-to-human engagement and interaction, and being able, like I said, with the first ball ceremony, to be able to have that emotional connection. I think that's really what drove me into this industry. And I've always wanted to have my own company. You know, I had Steve's Lawn Service when I was 12. I did actually start an event company when I was about 25, and then started promotion when I was 31. So like I said, I've kind of always had it in my blood. I've always loved events. I've always seen the value of doing events.
Yeah. Kind of brought me back. I had a best friend growing up also named Brian, and we had B&B snow shoveling company. And we went around the neighborhood you know?
We did the same. We shoveled driveways for $5.
Yep.
$5
Yeah.
a driveway.
Yeah. But the long curtain driveways, those were double the price, $10. Very good. So, you know, you're doing events, and it sounds like at 25 you started that company. Was there? I want to ask this next question the right way, because then you go into promotion. I guess at what point at 25, like, what made you realize you wanted to start that event company? Was it the face to face and just your passion for engagement, or was there something else that drove you to do that?
You know, I might talk to my parents a lot about it. You know, like looking back, why I did certain things, and you know, I just think I had the certain qualities just from very young age, and maybe even when I was first born. I just always wanted to have my own company.
Yeah.
I was always interested in business. I was always interested in building something. I was always interested in finance. You know, it's just something that always was driving me. So I did a little bit of a consulting when I was at Ralston Purina, when I was in my mid-20s. And I was just trying to figure out what my next step was going to be. I wanted to start a company. I wasn't sure what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then, you know, SGR Promotions was just, you know, a local event company doing events for local brands around St. Louis at, you know, local fairs and festivals, you know, really small stuff, but it was something I could do on weekends and still have my corporate job.
Yeah.
And that just, you know, I've always been a hard worker. I've always wanted to, you know, been okay with working long hours, working weekends. You know, I started promotion, you know, we didn't have kids, you know, so there wasn't a ton of risk there to, you know, when I decided, okay, you know, I'm going to leave my corporate job and I'm going to start an event agency.
So was promotion really born out of that transition of going kind of part-time with SGR to I'm going to do this full time?
Yeah, you know, I had a small stint, a short stint at McCann Erickson Event Marketing, which became Momentum.
Okay.
So they had hired me away from Ralston Purina, and it was a turnaround. And there were a few of us who kind of turned that company around. And that's when I really knew that, you know what, I can do this. And, you know, I don't need the big, huge agency, you know, up in New York that owned us. As a big brother, I can go off and do it on my own. And so then it took us about 6 months from the time we left. We had a small group of people, and about 6 months before we got our first client, which was scary.
That's very scary. Yeah.
Scary.
And I actually want to talk about that 6 month block. But I want to ask these two questions first, because these come first. Is where did the name Promotion come from? First question. And second question, the logo as we see it right now, is that how it's always been, or has it evolved? So I will let you take the floor.
All right. So you have a daughter.
I do.
And I have 2 kids. And like I said, I had promotion before I had the kids. So promotion really is my first baby. And I think one of the most challenging things, I don't know about you and your wife, when you had your daughter, one of the most challenging things to figure out a name for your kids.
Yeah.
My daughter Paige came 8 weeks early. She didn't have a name for about 3 or 4 days. So we kept on like looking at her and go, does she look like a Sally? Does she look like a Linda? Does she, you know, it's like whatever that means. But, you know, oh no, she looks like a Paige. So her name is Paige. So it's kind of the same thing. I remember, I still have them. I got like 5 or 6 pages of just, you know, notes about names, and it was frustrating. And then you start bouncing it off people and all that kind of stuff. So at the end, I kind of had this epiphany. I go, I want one word that says what we do.
Yeah.
Somebody said, well, what do you do? And I said, we do promotions. And they go, well, boom, that's the name of your company then, Promotions. And then we did some research, and it's like, no, somebody already has the word promotions. Somebody already has the word promotion, one word. So we decided to do it in 2 words. So we have promotion, 2 words. And that's what stuck. And so it's funny, over the years, we'd be sitting in meetings at customers' offices, and they bring in somebody and they go, oh, you know, this is the group from Promotion.
Yeah.
And most of the time the people thought we were an in-house group. We were part of their promotion group, if we were part of their company. So I'm like, well, that's not a bad thing, right? So we just, we thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So, promotion, it's kind of what we do. We're really good at things that are moving.
Yeah.
We're in the promotional world. It seemed to make sense,
Yeah.
And then the logo has morphed maybe 4 times in 25 years. It used to be all in a block. The Pro was yellow, the Motion was blue, sort of like the Blues colors.
Yeah.
And back then, the St. Louis Rams also, they both had kind of the same colors.
Greatest
and it had this arrow going up, and like for the Motion, and I don't remember how many years we had that. And then I don't know, maybe 5 years we had that logo, and then we went to a block, and then we did Pro with the Motion in slant, and then we have what we have today, which you can see on my shirt. And now it says experiential marketing underneath it. When we started the company 25 years ago, we were an event marketing company because experiential hadn't been created yet.
Yeah. Well, the logo, now that we hear about it, makes a ton of sense, right? I mean, I like the fact that Pro is bold, right? So the quality that you're getting and Motion combined with the word. And I'm sure when you guys came up with it, like today, I think a lot of companies, or at least it should be part of their strategy, is like, how is this name going to play on Google, right? And being searched and all of that. And that was probably something, I don't know, like, I guess that's a great question. When you came up with it, did you guys immediately go, we also need to nab this URL? Or
we did. And that's why our URL is www.promotion1.com, because promotion.com was taken. And that was like after we'd already put everything else in motion. It's like, oh, we need a URL. Back then, we're all on AOL dial-up. And so we go in and like we can't have our name. So that's why we put the 1 in there. So we're promotion1.com as our URL.
There you go. That's something that I've always wondered. I was like, where did that 1 come from? And now I know. That's a great story. Hey, everybody, if you're just joining us right now, we have our 25th Trusted Herd Live, very special guest, Steve Randazzo with ProMotion, who is celebrating their 25th anniversary. So this is pretty much their show today, sponsored by ProMotion. And he's also giving away 4 giveaways that are very, very cool over the next 48 hours. All you have to do is like or heart or hit the share button to your favorite page or your own page. 2 of his books that are now bestsellers. Steve, do you still have that book, Andy?
I do still have my book. Yep.
There it is, Brand Experiences. And also a first, which I think is an incredible offering. I would love to win it, but I feel like I'm going to spend my 30 minutes here anyway. He's giving away 30 minutes to 2 people either also. So you can talk anything industry related, expenses, anything about that, which is very generous of him to offer up his time. So that's going to be 2 amazing things for the people that get that. So, all right, moving on. We've learned about the name, the website, the logo. Can you talk a little bit, like that 6 months? It sounds like maybe there was a group of you. It wasn't just yourself, right? And what you were all doing to hunt or find business. How did that play out?
Yeah, well, we do the same thing we do today. Really, when we started out, it's like, first look at, who do we know?
Yeah.
Who do we want to know? And because we were a startup, we wanted to stay in St. Louis. So, we were setting up meetings and driving all over town and saying, hey, just want to let you know who we are. We're a new event company. Here's what we do. Here's what we've done. Here's, you may know us because of our reputation.
Yeah.
And, the first client, we were really lucky being in St. Louis. We happened to nab a project with Anheuser-Busch.
Wow.
So a lot of fishing, and we caught the whale.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing. I had so many fun memories, 14 years working with AB.
Wow.
Probably just about every one of their brands, and got to do so many fun things. I've been at, every major sporting event with them, and with, programs that we did for them. And, literally hundreds of really great people who worked there back in those early days, 96 to to 2000, basically, we worked with those guys, and I'm sorry, longer than that. It was 14 years. But we worked with them, I guess, to 2010, and about the same time that they were bought out by InBev. But we got to do so many fun things, and I tell you, Brian, I kind of get goosebumps. I'm thinking about driving down there the very first time and being a St. Louis kid. You see the big Budweiser logo on top of the building, and I kind of had an anthem that I would play to kind of get myself pumped up, and so I. Back then I got my, not 8-track, but my cassette tape, put it in my car and put in Boston. Okay. And the song is Rock and Roll Band. And it's all about kind of like going out and busting your ass and working your ass off. And then you finally get a break. And, obviously the band Boston's unbelievable, iconic brand. Yeah. And so that was what just got me going. I'd put it in the car, a couple of minutes away from pulling into Anheuser-Busch, and I'd walk in there all pumped up, just ready to take on the world. And that one day after being down there a few times, I walked away with a $90,000 job.
Wow.
And for Anheuser-Busch, that's probably one of the smallest jobs they ever had. Probably the smallest job we ever worked with them on, but it was the beginning. Yeah. It was a start.
Yeah.
And it was, like I said, of a beautiful 14-year relationship, and so many of those guys and gals down there I'm still friends with and still keep in touch with, and we did such fun stuff. Anheuser-Busch was a great client to have, and they opened up doors for a lot of other people, because we could say, hey, here's a program we did for Bud Light, here's a program we did for Budweiser, here's a program we did for Michelob, here's a program we did for Busch, NASCAR, PGA, NFL, all that kind of stuff. We've done tons of sports marketing.
Yeah, that's incredible. It was fun. And I have to imagine too, with a brand like that, and now maybe it's a little bit different with startups and people shifting jobs, kind of across the board. But with an iconic brand like Budweiser, probably some of those relationships that you built in the marketing department ended up going on to other iconic brands that then brought you in, right?
Yeah, it unfortunately, so many of those people, were dispersed and they moved on. I'm sure they all thought when they first got to Anheuser-Busch that they'd be there for life. Yeah. And then things changed, and the marketing department ended up moving to New York, and a few of them went, but most of them didn't. And now they're dispersed all over the place. They're here in St. Louis. They're here in other parts of the United States. So yeah, I'd love keeping in touch with them and finding out what they're doing and looking for opportunities with them too.
Yeah, that's very cool. Listen, out of the gate, Budweiser is unbelievable first client, but in that span of the next few years, was there a second client that came along for promotion in your team where you started to go, wow, this thing is starting to grow or take off a little bit more?
Yeah, it's interesting. The first 5 years were kind of a roller coaster. It's like, 95 was our beginning. We were only like a half a year or so. It was about the end of 95, early 96 when we got that first piece of business. And then, 96 was a really great year. And then 97, we learned about the churn in our industry where, a certain percentage of your revenue just doesn't repeat for whatever reason. It's not because it was a bad program. It's just maybe it's just a 1-year program. So we had that revenue and now it's gone. And we're like, oh crap, now we got to get out and refill, we need to backfill that revenue. So 97, we went down a little. 98, we'd worked in 97, 98, our revenue goes back up again. Yeah. And then we spend all that time making sure we're doing great work for those clients. And then the churn happens again. In 99, it goes down. And then 2000 was like the beginning of where we started building some real stability. And from 2000 to 2006, we worked with Campbell's and had a ton of business with Campbell's. So, it wasn't just those two. We probably had, 8 or 9 different customers back then, different brands. But Campbell's was another one that, they spent a ton of money in our industry. So, we had 2 really great foundations with Campbell's and Anheuser-Busch. And that's when we really started building from 2000 to 2008 when the recession hit. Yeah. It was just a hockey stick. You know, I remember telling friends, you know, oh, our revenue's up 400% this year. And, oh, you know, and next year we're thinking it's going to be up another 300. And it was crazy. We were doubling every couple of years.
I was going to ask Steve, in that moment, which is just surreal. I mean, to be doubling. I remember when I was at Marketing Works and they doubled in 2006, 2007, 2008. When that's happening and you start this company, is that something that you even imagine when you started? Like, is that just so far beyond your thought process, or did you always feel that, hey, I think we can get to that point one day?
It was both. You know, it's, in some ways you're just humbled. You know, like, man, you know, I look around, you know, back in those days, we'd shut down the company for a week and we'd all, and our spouses, we'd go on trips.
Yeah.
So, you know, Jamaica and Puerto Vallarta, and we've gone on cruises, you know, all kinds of really, you know, we have like 40 people go on these trips. And, you know, those were really cool because, like, you know, it gave me a chance to really thank the team and, you know, get everybody away because we'd work our asses off. And then it's like, it'd be great to get away for a week and just relax in some warm weather.
Yeah.
So it's humbling. And then another one's like, well, of course I always thought this, you know, I wouldn't have started if I didn't think I could pull this off.
Right.
And then 2008 came and just cut us off by the knees.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. And it's maybe what's going on in our industry now, because there's a lot of competitive agencies that have been around less than 5 years.
Yeah.
They haven't had any bad things happen yet.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because, you know, we've been around for 25 years, we've been through a number of downturns and things that you couldn't plan for.
Sure.
Like 2008 taught me how to run a business. We were burning cash. We had clients jumping out of contracts.
Yeah.
You know, not far from where we are today.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy cow, you know, for the first time ever, I've got to think about keeping my business alive. And the only way I can do it is cut expenses.
Yeah.
The biggest place to cut expenses is these people who I love.
Yeah.
And it was the hardest thing I've ever been through.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But a friend of mine told me in order to save a tree, you have to cut off a few branches. And that was an analogy that still lives with me today. Yeah. And it was true. I wanted the tree to stay alive, and it hurt and it was painful, and I'd never want to do it again. Yeah. It taught me a lot, and I run the company so much different today than I did in 08.
Yeah.
Much smarter than I was back then.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get to that in a few questions here. Everybody right now, if you have any questions for Steve, feel free to drop them in the comments. We have a couple more here, and then we can ask, you know, 1 or 2 audience questions.
Sure.
3 if Steve is kind enough to answer 3.
Only 2.
We just talked about it. Team is so important. You've spent 25 years growing this business. What does the word team mean to ProMotion?
Yeah, it's everything. We put our core values together when, you know, probably we're probably 97 or 98, you know, after we've been around for a couple of years. And our very first core value is employees first, always.
Yeah.
And back then that was like not trendy. It was like, no, customers first, take care of customers. It's all that matters. Yeah. And I was like, no, I can't do this by myself. You know, we're a team. Yeah. And, you know, I always played team sports, and I know my sports background and being a captain of my teams. I know still today that that's the same mentality I have. Yeah. You know, we can't be who we are if it's just Steve. Mm-hmm. It's got to be Steve and everybody else. And we reach out and we hold hands. We're a much stronger group than if I'm a dictator sitting at the top of some pyramid. Yeah. It's just not my style.
Yeah.
So team's really important. And I've been so lucky. You know, I've had people who've been with me for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, you know, along the way. And that's a long time in this industry. And then, you know, I'm really fortunate that Kathy Kennedy has been with me now for 24 years. And, you know, people who've worked with Kathy either from our client standpoint or our field teams know what a rock star she is. I mean, I wouldn't be here and the company wouldn't be here without her. She's the glue, the oil, you know, all those analogies you could put out there that's really helped our organization grow and and help us stick together. And from a quality control, she handles all of our clients, all of our revenue, all of our field teams. She and her team do just an amazing job. And without team, I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
And I realized that a long time ago that I want to be more than just a guy. And so team's really important to me. And that's why it hurt so badly back in 08 and 09 that I had to trim the team.
Sure. You mentioned Kathy, who I also know, and you said 24 years. So was she one of your first employees?
She was. She joined us when we were about 6 months old.
Yeah.
We'd worked together at McCann Erickson. I knew what a rock star she was back then. She was underutilized back there. And actually, when she first came to our company, she was underutilized also. And now she's basically at every job in the company except for mine. She's taken a lot off my plate though.
Yeah.
But she came in here the first day. She had her son who was about 4 weeks old, I think, Alex, who's now obviously, 24 years old.
Yeah.
And she came with Alex. He was here for 18 months. He was in a playpen, and she said to me, I'd love to come to work for you, but can I bring my son with me? And I was like, I had no kids. I had no idea what that meant. I'm like, well, yeah, I want you to come to work. So yeah, if you want to bring Alex. How bad could that possibly, what could that mean?
Yeah.
And he was a great baby and really good kid. But after he's about 18 months old, it was obvious it was time for Alex to go hang out with kids his own age. He was running around, and we had, the whole office was Alex-fied, and we had stuff stuck at all the electrical outlets, and we had gates up. But again, this is a tough business, and it was fun to like have a diversion. So we'd have play dates with Alex, and we'd have brainstorming, and he'd be sitting up on our table in the conference room, and he'd be playing with his toys while we're brainstorming. It was just part of what we were back then.
Yeah. How about this question? Because having done this for 25 years, you've experienced a lot in the business and seen the business grow, right? The industry itself. Is there anything that Steve Randazzo today would say to Steve back 25 years ago when he was starting promotion that maybe would have accelerated that path faster for you, or just a tidbit that you've learned along the way that you've really adopted outside of the branch analogy?
Yeah, I love this question. I would have hated it probably 10 years ago, but I really like it today.
Yeah.
When it hit me that this year was our 25th year, I kind of became philosophical about this journey and really dug into it. And I'd just written the book, so it was great because I'd just gotten all my thought, or not all of them, a lot of thoughts down into the book. But I started thinking about what I would have done differently. And I'm not a regrets guy, and I'm not a guy who beats myself up, for saying, God, why didn't you know that? Or if you'd have just done this, I always say I'm not a rear view mirror guy. I'm a windshield guy.
Yeah.
So I'm never looking behind me. I'm always looking forward. There's some things I did that we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those things. So I would tell my younger self, great job on putting money away for a rainy day.
Yeah.
I mean, from day one, I said, I know there's going to be a rainy day, and 2008 was more than a rainy day, and today's more than a rainy day. But put money away, because cash is king, and without cash, you can't have a company. You don't have to be profitable, but if you have cash, you can stay in business.
Sure.
So cash is king. Make sure you always have cash. You're always putting away cash. That was really important. Like I said, it took me 10 years to write this damn book, and I'm so glad I did it. And I probably got 2 or 3 books still in me that I want to do. Now that I figured it out, it took me 18 months to write it. I can probably write the next one in 3 months, just from what I learned.
Yeah.
So getting a book out was a huge accomplishment for me. It's kind of one of those things that I needed, because every year I put in my my personal action plan. I'm gonna write a book this year, and it never happened.
Yeah.
And one day driving in, I said, damn it, I'm gonna start a book today. And that day I started the book, and 18 months later I finished it. So I would say, if you really have some long-term goals that are really a challenge, you got to do it. So out there, if it's write a book or get out and speak, whatever it happens to be, get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And then, the last one is something I wish I would have done. I just started it in the last year, and that's build your personal brand as well as your business brand. Again, I've always been a we guy, not an I guy.
Yeah.
So I never even considered building Steve Randazzo. Always considered building promotion and promotions team. And I always say we, I don't say I. So once I wrote the book, like my people around me are like, well, you have to build your brand. And I'm like, it's we. And they're going, no, you have to build Steve Randazzo. And so we got steve-randazzo.com as one of our URLs. And that's a place where you can get a lot of information on my book. But, I wish I would have started that earlier. If I would have started it 10 years ago, I probably could have built that up, and that would help promotion grow. And that's the end of the day. That's why I wrote the book. I wrote the book to give back in the industry, to give people, more information on what we do and what our industry can do. Yeah. And, it's better than a business card when you walk in and talk to a prospect.
Absolutely. I had this vision of when you were just telling me you had that moment driving in, you were like, I'm just going to write this book. I got to do it right now. I was like, you probably had the Boston cassette playing.
My team kind of looked at me and they're like, yeah, seriously? And I'm like, no, I'm totally serious. I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to do an outline. And I started thinking about names, and I came up with a name that day. And I was like, hey, here's the working name. It's not what it turned out to be.
Yeah.
But we did. We started putting it together that day. And I had to put it on the shelf a couple times. We got busy. But that's why I think I can do the next one in probably 3 months.
Very good. How about this, Steve? Because you guys do a lot of programs. You do a lot of tours. What do you look for in workers that want to come join promotion?
It's funny. We probably have the same wants that every agency out there or any company who wants employees. You want somebody who's responsible and fits into your culture and who you like as a person and things like that. And I'm telling you, we have all those and some more, but we don't waver from them. Yeah. I mean, those are like strict rules. Yeah. If you don't fit in, if I wouldn't be comfortable having lunch or dinner with you, and I have lunch or dinner with every single one of our traveling people, I'm very involved in my company. And it's one thing I love is I sit down with every team that comes in here for training. Yeah. And we train either 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, which is more than most in our industry.
That's a long time.
And you can ask people who've worked for us, like, wow, that's the most extensive training I've ever been through. But I'm involved. So you're going to lunch with me, you're going to dinner with me, we're hauling sandbags together, we're putting up tents together, we're doing all that kind of stuff. And my parents told me a long time ago that, people are going to judge you by who you hang out with. Yeah. So I use that rule of thumb, bringing anybody into my company, whether they're in one of our offices, and we have now people in multiple offices around the country, or they're doing a tour for one of the brands that we're working with. I gotta like you, otherwise you're not going to make it here. Yeah. And it's interesting because we do make bad hires, and it's just not a fit. It's not the person's fault. It's just not the fit. They've obviously got experience, and we liked them enough to bring them in, but sometimes after a couple of days of training, I just kind of get a bad vibe, and I will sit down and say, hey, I'm a little concerned about this person. Let's watch a couple of things tomorrow, and let's set he or she up to be successful and see how that works. Yeah. And sometimes that saves them, and they go on and finish training and finish the tour. Yeah. And sometimes that's their last day. Yeah. And, we always say, hire slow and fire fast. And the last thing that we can have in this industry is somebody out in the field who we don't trust or who we don't like or we don't think is doing the job. Sure. Trust is such a huge part of this industry. I tell people all the time, and if there are people out there who've worked for us, I tell this story all the time. I don't know what you do the night before. If you're out in a bar, I can't tell you to stop doing shots of Jaeger at 12:30 because you have an event tomorrow. Yeah. You have to intuitively know you probably shouldn't be in a bar at 12:30 doing shots if you have an event tomorrow. Yep. First of all, you're going to be sweating your ass off if you're coming in hungover, and that's not fun for anybody. You want your day to go by fast, not slow. And if you're hungover and it's hot out and you're out doing an event, it's the longest day of your life. Yeah. So we need people who are responsible and people who we can trust and people who love our clients' brands and people who really have that self-respect that they're going to get out there and they're going to do a great job. Yeah. They're going to do a great job for themselves, for our client and for our company. And we're really, really loyal. And, we bring people back, and we have this core group of people that we have a list of people who have been great tour managers for us. And we go to those people first. We want to keep them, it's just easier for everybody if you already know that they're rock stars. And that's what we look for every time, is we look for tour managers who are rock stars.
You said something there in that answer that I don't know if many workers quite understand, and this isn't necessarily like a single event BA kind of thing, but when you do go on tours, there is that conversation after training every day of like, hey, to the internal team, what did everybody see? Is there anything that made you concerned? Is there any, individual that you'd like to see different out of? And I do think that that's a really important thing to share and really touch on, because you do have to pay attention. And if you can't pay attention in the training underneath the people who are managing you and who are putting the program on, how are you going to be in the field when nobody's watching, right?
Exactly. If they're not busting their ass when I'm around, then they're not going to bust their ass when I'm not around.
Yeah.
So you got to look at that. We really believe in, we've got statistics as we look at this all the time. 90% of the success of any program is a really great touring team who's trained really, really well. They get to that first event, they're set up for success. They completely understand what's going on, and they hit the ground running. There's no huge learning curve. A lot of places, you don't have time for a learning curve. Yeah. So that's why, I'm on site for every beginning of any tour launch in the field. I meet the team where they are. We have that meeting the night before. I'm there in the morning when they get there. We set it up together. We talk about it. If we have local BAs come in, we talk about how that training is going to go, just to remind them. And we've been doing this so long, it's sort of second nature to us. We want it to be second nature to them.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. I got the audience questions here. I got one more question from my end before we get there. You've started a few businesses, and promotion has gone on for 25 years, and I'd like to think it's because you're successful and the team that you've hired and all of that. People can start businesses at any given time, whether that's 5 months ago, 5 months from now, or even today. Do you have any advice for somebody, and it doesn't even need to be event related, anything that they're considering, any advice for them?
Yeah, if you're going to start a company, if you're going to take that risk, you're going to go out there and, you're going to give up whatever you had before, and you decide to start a company, maybe start on the side at first, but, it doesn't really matter. The people thing is so huge. We've talked about that. Surround yourself with good people, but I'm not going to concentrate on the people who are working with you day in and day out. I'm going to concentrate on advisors. So you need a great accountant or CPA. It's so important to set your books up right. It's so important to understand how money flows through your company. Yeah. You have to have a good lawyer. Set your company up the right type of company. Is it a corporate C Corp? Is it an S Corp? Is it an LLC? Is it a sole proprietorship? Find an attorney, do some research, ask friends. Having a good CPA and attorney are really important. The other part is to have a coach or a mentor you can trust. There's somebody that is going to give you their time and their advice. And there's two groups that I've joined in the past that have been huge to help me get to the next level at my company and really to understand. And one is called Vistage. So it's a group of CEOs. I think you have to have at least $1 million in sales to be in that group, but there's Vistage groups all over the United States. Yeah. It's like 10 people. It's non-competitive. You get together once a month. There's a coach who comes with. They have speakers that come in, and it gives you a chance to spend a whole day with these people, learn about their businesses, learn about how to run a business. Yeah. And then the other group is called Entrepreneurs Organization, and it's a similar setup where you get together once a month and you spend a half a day together. And it's in the people that were in my Vistage group and people that are in my EO group. Yeah. I can call today and say, hey, I need 2 hours from you. I'm in trouble. I need help, whatever. I mean, it's just an incredible bond. Those two groups, I wouldn't be where, along with my team, but those two groups, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the collective knowledge and advice that I got from those groups, and learning. Learning is so important. I bet I sat on 12 webinars last month. So we're in our 25th year. I'm in my mid 50s.
Yeah.
I'm still learning every day. I'm still trying to figure this thing out, and it's part of what drives me every day.
Yeah, being in Chicago, it's such a big startup community and entrepreneurial community. And one of the things I absolutely love is talking with other entrepreneurs, because it doesn't matter the business you're in or the industry, you're all going through something similar. And I think that's what you're probably alluding to, the Vistage and the other organization, is that it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. And if I haven't experienced it, there's a good chance somebody in this group has, and can tell us where they succeeded and where they wish they maybe changed it up a little bit different. So
yeah, for sure.
That's a great answer. All right, so we have 2 questions here, and they're current events questions. So
okay.
Let's see here. One of them is, Steve, what do you think the new norm will be for events moving forward?
Yeah, the $64 million question that everybody's trying to answer today. Yeah. I'll be able to tell you in about a year from now really, really well what it looks like. But my gut is telling me, basically what you're reading, it's going to be a while before big trade shows come back. It's going to be a while before, big concerts, the Lollapalooza and those types of things, probably are 2021 events. Some of the state fairs, also depending on how big they are, probably are going to have to figure out how to either spread out more or divide their fairgrounds up, or do something to make sure that we all stay away from, potential health concerns from, other people. Until we get this behind us and we're all comfortable with getting it behind us, it's going to be tough. And our state has opened up part of our state. Our area where we are is going to open up in maybe 10 days from now. There's a lot of other states that obviously are there ahead of us, and there's so much junk out there. I wish there was one place we could go to. We don't have to fact check, what they're telling us. But until we all get comfortable, we're going to be living in this unknown, and we're going to have to make changes. But I believe this is my analogy. It's like, as human beings, we need each other.
Yeah.
But we can't even keep our New Year's resolution past January 15th. So I don't think we've started any new habits that we're not going to be able to revert back to the old days. I hope we keep washing our hands, and, I hope, those things continue to happen. But, there will be a day that social distancing won't be important. There's going to be a day where we're not going to worry if, whoever we're talking to or we're around, has the virus or carrying the virus or what happens. Yeah. So the new normal is going to be temporary, in my opinion. I think 2021 is going to be, a normal year.
Yeah.
Kathy's writing up on our whiteboard. I see David, Kevin, and Melissa. Shout out to you three, all three former employees who we know and love out listening. So hope you guys are all safe, and we'll get this industry running again here in a little bit.
Yeah. How about this one? And it does kind of go about what you just answered, but particularly in the food industry and food sampling. Do you think that might be a segment that we could see have some long-term changes?
Yeah, we just talked about this the other day. I don't see us walking into Costco and having somebody hand us, a chip with some dip on it in the near future. Unfortunately, I don't see hand-to-hand sampling happening at events for a while. Until we can all be comfortable that person handing it to us is only handing us a sample and nothing else is coming with. Yeah. I just read that 40% of the people, there's like 1,800 people I think that were surveyed. 40% of them didn't think they would go to a huge concert or trade show or state fair until next year.
Yeah.
I don't know what age they were. They didn't say. but that's just what I read. So I can understand that, but every day we learn something new.
Right.
So I think, you know, as we learn more and more, and there's more positive things happening, more positive news coming out.
Yeah.
You know, people didn't go outside 2 weeks ago, and now we're outside, and you know, we're staying away from each other, and people only went to get food, and you know, now we're going to other places, and you know, a lot of areas you can sit in a restaurant now.
Yeah.
So it'll continue to change. It won't happen overnight. It won't be all of a sudden one day that, you know, everything's fine. But you know, it's only early May. We have a lot of summer, a lot of event season left.
We certainly.
I don't see a full washout. Put it that way.
Good stuff. How about this, Steve? Let's put that behind us. I'll get you out of here on this one because I think we've answered all the other questions. What are some of your favorite events in 25 years you've been to and you've enjoyed?
Oh, there's so many. Like I said, you know, for Anheuser-Busch, we got to go to so many cool events. You know, I'm fortunate. I've been to a number of Super Bowls. I've been to Daytona 500 a number of times. Been to tons and tons of golf events. I love golf events. You know, we've done a bunch of those really high profile events, which, you know, we've been to, I don't know how many Olympics, maybe 3 Olympics.
Wow.
That you know, were just amazing to be able to do.
Yeah.
You know, we did some really cool things. We used to do an event for the New York Lottery up in Lake Placid. And so if you remember, Lake Placid is where the 1980 USA team beat the Russians. And we had this giant school bus that was a museum on wheels for the New York Lottery.
Yeah.
And I actually got to drive that school bus on the ice up in Lake Placid, you know, where the USA hockey team won the Olympics back in '80. And so that was kind of cool. It's like, God, who would have thought, first of all, what am I doing driving a school bus? But who would have thought that, you know, we'd be on that ice, and we did this huge event up there on the ice of that rink. And we do it every year. So it was cool in this beautiful country up there in the winter. And it was just an amazing event. So it's everything from the big stuff to, you know, just sentimental things like that.
Yeah.
I'd have to tell you that in 2008, we were in Times Square doing a program for CNN, and it was election night. So I was like November 8th or something like that. And that's when Barack Obama became our next president.
Yeah.
And so we're in basically the center of the universe. We have this permit for 10,000 people. We're right at the triangle in the square. I'm sure a lot of people have done events there before, but this is on election night.
Yeah.
And we have a permit for 10,000 people. And at 11 o'clock, we have this huge screen, and Wolf Blitzer's up there, and he says, you know, CNN is confirming the next president of the United States is Barack Obama. Place went crazy. People were lighting off firecrackers right there in our event, which wasn't fun to have happen. We had all these New York police coming. People just came out of their buildings, came out of their homes, out of their apartments into our footprint.
Yeah.
And we probably had 25 of New York's finest on salary that day. And I remember one of the police officers came up to me, and he's like, we have to close Times Square. You've got too many people here. You're way over your permit. And I'm like, I looked at him and I go, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And it was so cool because we closed down Times Square, traffic going both ways, because we had so many people come down and converge on that event. And we pulled an all-nighter that night. That was just amazing. We had so much fun. Went out with our CNN clients, you know, we're out till, you know, 4 a.m. and, you know, after an all-day event, and it was just a lot of fun. So to be in the center of the universe, you know, that was a big deal for our country, and it's always a big deal. It's a culmination of about a 25-week tour, and so that was pretty cool too.
That's I love that answer. I mean, that's like the moment that your passion of events intersect with whatever's happening in the world at that moment, right?
Oh, best.
It's just this feeling that you can't plan for, you can't, it just happens. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Steve Randazzo, thank you for spending the last hour sharing your story and the story of promotion.
It went by so fast, Brian. I really had fun. I really did. I mean, you asked me some great questions. You know, I like I said, I'm not a review mirror guy. I'm looking out the the front of the windshield all the time.
Yeah.
But it's fun to go back to think of some of the cool things we've been able to do over the last 25 years. You know, I'm so fortunate. You know, we've had, you know, for this little company out of St. Louis, we've worked with some amazing brands. Disney, I didn't even mention Disney, but you know, we've done so many cool things with Disney and won pro awards with them and things like that. And you know, there's so many great brands, so many great people, and so many amazing field people that we got to work with. That you know, I like I said, I love seeing David and Kevin and Melissa all out there. And anytime anybody who's been in the family, you know, at the end of the tour, you know, we sit down and we do a little post event with each one of them, our traveling field people, and you know, I tell them, okay, you're in the family now. Yeah. So if you ever need help, if you ever need any assistance, you have my number, and you better call me. You know, because I'm more than happy to help. And that's the thing I didn't think about when I started the company. It's one of those huge gifts back to me, is all these amazing people that we got to work with. I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, everybody, 25th episode of Trusted Herd Live for the 25th promotion. Again, it's been an honor and a pleasure to hear your story, Steve. Tomorrow, same time, same place, we'll be here with Martin from Staffed Inc. And on Friday, we have Brenda from B9 Models. So 3:30 p.m. Central Start Time. Again, I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode. And one more time for Mr. Steve Randazzo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. I really, really appreciate spending time with you and everybody today. Everybody keep safe. I look forward to finding out who gets one of the books or two of the books. And then I look forward to see who I'm going to spend some time with also one-on-one. I'm excited about that.
Super. All right, everybody. Thanks so much.